Does this format work? Is it 3 games or 2, or how is the EFN format? I've not
Well,
commentated.
I was going to introduce you as a special guest, but I hit the line button, and I think most people would have recognised your voice. So, if anyone would like to have a guess, well, a special guest is
Oh, already live.
commentating for us tonight.
Hello.
It is Final Boss. So, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have another ENF game. We are coming to the closing stages. There's just a few knockout rounds left. And we have a rather interesting matchup where we have Payne's Armada versus Payne's Armada.
No, I believe are they both Payne's Armada? I believe one is Payne's Armada and the other one is Payne Killers.
So they're both the same team.
Oh, they're branches. Okay.
But they're branches of the same team. So so Payne's has two teams. They've a couple of people entered two teams. We did in Salty. We entered two teams. And I think Steel Alliance has two teams. There's a couple. There's actually, I think there's 4 or 5 secondary groups, and yeah, Payne's has 2. And they managed to both make it to the knockout stages, and they managed to end up meeting each other. So this should be.
I guess to try and distinguish between the two, I'll refer to them individually by their names listed on the EFN. Then Payne's Armada, Payne Killers, Payne's and Payne. It's going to be an interesting tongue twister commentary, I think.
It is, especially for the first time of us commentating together.
Okay. Oh, we did just very briefly see the team lineup. I didn't get a whole chance to see all the ships that were listed on there, but it looks like they're jumping straight in. They were very quick into the room there. Yeah,
they were very quick, unfortunately.
So I didn't see the map either. This can be a full reveal. So North Domination. Okay.
North.
So
the second broadcast still isn't up. We're supposed to get that broadcast from the two sides, but here we go.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about this. Normally this bit's done off stream, but this bit is being done on stream.
They're jumping in very quickly by the look of it. So we're playing catch up.
Yeah, and so they have got two. Have they got two teams? Yeah, Payne and Payne's. So they're the same fleet. They're the same team, but they've got two different fleets.
Okay.
And one is Payne's, and one is Payne. So.
Sure thing. Okay, so right off the gate, team composition. If we can look at the overview and see what the picks are.
We can't. Because
looking at the overview. We didn't get a chance because they just started the game.
Hang on a second. We might be able to get it from.
Yeah, they were very, very quick into the battle. Hold on.
You know what we can do? Yeah. We can do a quick pause and catch up with the action.
I see. So we have obviously there's the radar rule, but we're running so we have Team 1 with Jean Batamagi, P-Bag, Wichita, Fletcher, Fantastic Loyang. Loyang is a clear pick, obviously. Both teams are running that. Wichita CE also appears to be a common radar pick. Riga is an interesting choice. Roma.
Yeah, Roma's been doing well, in all fairness. I've seen a couple of
I wouldn't expect a Roma. Also a Hawk, given it's a light fast. But okay, we'll jump in. I mean, we have an interesting team comp on Team 2, for sure.
The strange pick is the Akatsuki, I think. With it being like such a slow DD, it could be difficult to get itself out of trouble.
Especially if it encounters one of the Loyangs. Yeah, it can be a bit problematic. I mean, right off the gate, you're already seeing blue team here from Payne Killers or Payne's Armada 2, pushing in the destroyers moving into C. I assume trying to get a cross spotting. Yeah, he's lighting them up now for his team. We have that one isolated battleship on the left with A pushing with a Z-23. So I mean, right off the gate, they're kind of playing hyper aggressive on these islands. And I think we're about to see the first conflict now on B with the DD and yeah. So the destroyer in B, the enemy destroyer, well, his friendly destroyer, the blue, is already withdrawing, which makes sense. I mean, especially if that cruiser on B is a radar cruiser.
It's going to be the Riga is out on the C flank, so
yeah. So that Riga's going to pop his radar and force that destroyer out of B pretty much immediately. And we are, as we're expecting, we're seeing shots coming off on that destroyer right now. Red team are playing a bit more conservatively. They have their battleship on that back island, playing it a bit safe, while kind of Payne's armada are getting tucked in. They're getting these islands down right off the bat, and they're getting their radars real close to these inside islands where they can, from cover, kind of deter the destroyers.
I like this. I'm gonna convince you to do every match with these. Because you do my entire job for me. It's great.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, it's really, let's have a quick flip to Payne's side. So, in all fairness, actually, we won't watch this. We've got the DD. He's backing up. He's capping A.
Yeah, we're seeing the reverse destroyer strategy here, which is actually relatively clever because if he does encounter an engagement he doesn't want, instead of having to turn around and withdraw, he can just hit that acceleration and
he can just
drop a smoke in peace. Yeah.
Like obviously, you can see he's using twist and track. He's aware that he definitely has something close to him. What is out there?
It's hard to tell right now. Maybe I don't know. I feel like if it was the enemy Loyang, they'd be playing a lot more aggressively. So it could be the Akkat, which means he might cap a straight up.
So I'm confused.
Blue team are definitely
myself.
doing.
So he's on A. Ah, right. No, that's because that stream, annoyingly.
Because you're switching back and forth so fast, I'm losing track of which one is blue and red team right now. So right now it looks like Payne are doing a much better job early game at securing these caps. They've got the A cap very quickly, and they do seem to have quite a good setup in terms of holding those angles on the C cap. They have the destroyer in capping. They have the battleship on that center island with his nose facing the I don't know how to, like, almost a Two Brothers channel on the right hand side of A.
Yeah.
So they have their angles down. So if they try to flank between that channel, they've got a battleship nose in covering that. They have their cruiser behind the island. It's looking like they may get that C cap unless the enemy destroyer or the blue team destroyer from Payne Killers.
And unfortunately, Payne's battleship on C wasn't in a position to support their DD at all. He got pushed straight out of A by a cruiser and a DD. I'm not entirely sure which cruiser and DD, but yeah, he's been forced
having
to
reposition a battleship this early in the game is really detrimental, especially if it's a slow battleship. Well, and we're kind of seeing this checkmate between the two destroyers on A right now, where they're kind of perceptive, pinging each other but not quite sure where they're going.
Yeah, I flipped us back to Armada's side because C was looking interesting. Like, we know the DD, or they've actually got two DDs on C. The Payne's team have. It looked like they were going to secure C, but he's had to pull out. And unfortunately, we missed the reason why. But,
yeah, so I can honestly estimate that on C right now, they all have a lot of crossfires and there's a big stalemate. There's not much movement on that cap because neither side is really able to comfortably move in. And with Payne Armada already being a destroyer down, this is a huge spotting, like, detrimental disadvantage they have. Right now, it could be anyone's game right now, especially with that destroyer conflict around A. We're not quite sure how that's going to turn out just yet. But
I don't know. I think Payne. I think they've got A locked down. That DD. He's got to contest the DD and a cruiser, and you'd have to be a bit bonkers to take that fight.
A is pretty comfortably down on Payne, yeah, and it's also looking like C, to be honest, is pretty comfortably down on Payne, at least for now, because those two destroyers, like that Payne's killers have, are not playing particularly aggressive on that cap, and I assume it's because there's the radar comfortably perched up near that objective right now, and they're being very wary of it. Although we do have that Roma playing a really bold push here.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work out. Especially with the destroyer holding that island.
Yeah, so he's going to go sail into a DD. He's put himself into a bit of a crossfire with the Amagi, and close range to the Wichita C.
Luckily, the targets on C can't hit him though, so he really only has that cruiser and that destroyer. But it's not an ideal position right now. That Wichita CE belonging to Payne Killers is proving to be really problematic for this Amagi. Yeah. So I think for now, I don't know. We did say that A was pretty comfortably locked down, but that battleship is already pushing them out.
Yeah,
If he can take that cruiser down, he is going to be playing a Where's Waldo, trying to find the destroyer. But if he is pushing the cruiser out, this could prove quite a bold move. If they can cap A, they double cap A while C is still in a stalemate. That's going to be huge for points.
yeah, but well, yeah, actually, because I was about to say, but then he's got the DD to contest with, but he's using his smoke to help him take A. Yes, he has got the DD out there, but Payne's DD is still out there as well, so they could end up catching him in a nasty little crossfire. Could lose.
This DD conflict between those two could very much change a big portion of the outcome, because right now, as we're aware, that Payne's Armada is one destroyer down, but if they can equalize that with that, it seems like if those two destroyers do engage, because the way the blue destroyer is moving right now, it seems like he knows where the enemy destroyer is. It seems like he's very aggressively pushing it, because he's completely just disregarded the roamer in the cap.
We can flick to him or hit live.
That's exactly what's happening.
He knows exactly where he is.
So he's completely just ignoring and disregarding the battleship, and he's now trying to catch the enemy destroyer to kind of even it out, and that could prove huge.
Ooh, and Payne.
He's covering the cap. They're pushing for a triple cap. Like, Painkillers, as of right now, have a lot of map domination. They have C on stalemate, which is capped under their name, which is great for farming points. B is, again, B is difficult with the radar still in play. And we have this huge power movement over A right now.
A is literally where all the action is going on right now.
Yeah. Because, well, I mean, the harsh reality is Payne's Armada have to secure it. They have to keep A. They can't take a triple cap like this late in the game. It's going to be horrible to try and recap these objectives, and they're gonna ultimately have a point disadvantage. They have to keep A, and maybe try and move on B or C. I think B will be the safer bet, because right now it seems like Painkillers have C just completely locked down. With that destroyer, the battleship, and the cruiser up there.
This is the hardest commentary I think I've ever had to do, because both teams have the same name. And Boss has tactically discovered a way to distinguish the two. Yeah. And I'm like, wait, which one is that again? Because they're
when
Payne.
You have Payne, and then we're cycling between the two perspectives.
Yeah. So Armada is Payne, and Payne's is Killers.
Yeah, Payne's Killers and Payne's Armada. Yeah, so right now we're looking at Payne's Killers, who currently have B and C. They did try to make a power play to cap A, but it proved to be a little bit too difficult with that destroyer kind of engagement going on. Although, to be honest, looking at the board right now and the point lead, they don't really have to worry about anymore, which is, I imagine, why we're seeing them. They're going, you know what, A isn't really worth that heat right now.
Yeah.
Let's withdraw, we'll hold B and C, and we'll play the long game for points, which is the right move here.
They're pushing round on C. Their battleship on C is being pretty aggressive.
Well, he can be now. I mean, to be honest...
He can, but is it worth it? Is it worth the risk? Because if all of a sudden, he gets caught out by the battleship and the Wichita that's left on the enemy team, which are up in the north end of the map.
Well, I mean, there's rewind. So this battleship's predominant focus for the first half of the battle wasn't necessarily in farming damage or securing kills. It was in holding an angle over C, just to delay the enemy pushing C as much as possible to let it accumulate those points, which we're really beginning to see kind of the fruits of that labor right now, because we have such a huge point advantage late game. 742 to 395 is huge. And even if that battleship goes down now, I'm sure he'll do some damage before he goes down, which continues their health advantage. And if he dies, they have a pretty significant enough point cap now where their destroyers could comfortably retreat and maybe win the game on points with only 3 minutes left on this clock. As we're seeing it here right now with Potato Meat, he is shooting, but he's playing it safe because staying alive is the win here.
Yeah. It would be pretty hard for them to throw the match at this point with that lead, which is why, honestly, if I was that battleship, I would have just sat there, just in case, just let the DDs run the timer out, personally. But I guess it's a different world when you play competitive compared to playing standard. And in competitive, you generally don't get to do a whole massive amount of damage. So part of me understands why, if I was in that battleship pushing up through sea, why I'd want to get a couple of licks in, especially when it's against your teammates.
His role was definitely more like reactive than proactive this battle, and I don't think that's necessarily the wrong play. Like, the way they've played this was very clever. They kind of utilized the presence of these ships more than the utility of them as enough to, like, just knowing that there's a battleship with that firing line there was enough to kind of prevent the enemy radar cruisers from moving in. The destroyers were having to be wary. Like, it basically just locked down sea. Sea just became like an oil rig. It was just farming points. It was a point rig, which definitely worked out late game. Though neither team played particularly bad at the beginning. Both teams were very aggressive on these islands. Like, their play styles were very similar. They both had the very clear objective of securing that middle island on the center of B, and then utilizing that coast to cover the citadel and the broadside of the battleships, allowing them to nose one of the two objectives and hold them firing lines. And because both teams played this, very early we had this instance where we had those two radar cruisers both on B, popping their radars and deterring any kind of destroyer movement near B or C, presumably due to the radar range. And now we're kind of, unfortunately, we're seeing the cleanup here. They've got the point lead, and they've got the caps. They're no longer having to stress over points anymore, and they're just deciding, okay, well, we'll push them back and we'll force them to open water gunboat where they have no islands to protect them, and we'll clean the remaining of their health and end the game.
Yeah, it's just... And in all fairness, I have to kind of say thank you to Cap here. He could have dragged it out for the full 15 minutes, but he realised time was kind of done, opened up on the battleship, got himself a couple of licks in. And what I'm going to do here, so we don't see them picking any teams. So don't mention anything about if you see any ship changes just yet. I've taken that screen off the stream, okay, just in case one of the other teams is watching the stream and they're like, oh, look, yes, let's sneakily change ship selection. So let's have a quick gander at chat. Hello there, people of YouTube. Sorry, we have been ignoring you. But with good reason, because we didn't get much of a chance to relax in that game because there was always something going on. It was
so much movement right off the start, and then towards the end it was just a very aggressive push where one team realized, okay, we have the caps, let's just push them back out into their spawn, catch them out in the open, and see what we can do. But now that we know that both teams are playing this aggressively with this kind of mindset, I'm sure Payne's Armada are definitely revisiting their strategy and how can we kind of maybe punish their rotations as they're moving towards the islands or so on.
Yeah, they like both. I'm getting.
It's okay.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm having a senior moment here. No, I thought I genuinely, because I play in the competitions as well, I genuinely thought both teams played really well. It was a good win. It was a solid win, but like there was a turning. The turning point was about halfway through the match. I think it was when that Roma made that push and kind of made everything go a bit crazy for a while. It sort of broke the status quo. But until that point,
I think losing that first DD
either way.
Losing that first DD that early on was definitely rough because they lost a lot of their spotting on that flank immediately, and were trying to kind of reorganize themselves and start to utilize islands a bit more and recover that loss. But ultimately, they just, I don't know, the odds were against them, and it showed.
It's because that's a browser I don't normally use, but so they both keep live and I can flick between the screens very quickly. That's why the one has light mode on it. But a few shout outs to chat. Stylo Kaiser is here saying he's He's got his money on Payne to win. I think that's a solid bet. Isaac, how are you doing? Good evening.
Which one?
Which one? Be specific.
It's the question of the day for us as well, I think, is which one? Which one are we looking at?
Oh, right. Okay, I'm going to give us back.
Because we're already seeing movement. So this means we can now look at the ship team composition and kind of comment on if there's been any real changes here.
Hang on.
Or maybe not.
Yeah. There we go. Right, okay. I need to flip it back to the other
so we're
stream,
seeing the introduction
the
of
YouTube
Scandinavia.
stream,
Yeah.
where on that we can give it a quick pause here. So, not here because we still don't know what the teams are. There we go. So we can have a quick look. They both kept the DD lineups.
Anhalt and Champagne were definite switches. So they're still running two Low Yangs. We're running a Fletcher this time, so...
No, they had a Fletcher last time. It's the Makarev that's different.
Yeah, Makara, Champagne. Okay, so we have the accuracy of Champagne, the radar of P-Bag and Wichita, which are arguably two of the best radar crews in the game, because you have, the same shell. Like, you have the traditional Soviet AP that slaps on the cruiser with the radar. Low Yangs, yeah, I mean, I think with the whole Elbing German line, we are going to see a bit more of an aggressive playstyle here. We'll switch back over to the game, but it definitely looks like, if I recall, Miv is Payne's Armada, right? Yeah. So Payne's Armada have definitely recognized that the destroyer choice last time with the Japanese Akazuki may not have been the greatest
they
move
kept
here.
the Akatsuki.
Ah, okay.
The Akatsuki's still there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, I mean, it does definitely look like they're shifting towards a more aggressive destroyer play here, especially with the German Elbing line. So, with the German Elbing line's ability to kind of really hammer into some of these cruisers as well if they open up their broadside.
And, correct me if I'm wrong, because there's so many ships, it's quite confusing. Now, doesn't the Makarev have particularly good sonar range as well? It's not the 6 kilometers, or is it 6 kilometers that Z52 is? I know it's not quite that bad, but isn't it 4.5?
Well, so the Makara destroyer is smoke and engine. Smoke and engine boost. Unless I've completely misheard you and we're talking about different ships.
We might be talking about different ships. No.
Which ship? Sorry, which ship are you talking about here?
The German DD.
Yeah.
Doesn't it have sonar?
No, I believe it's running smoke and engine.
Ah. See, there's so many.
But it does, however, have that AP which can, like, if a cruiser shows its broadside, you'll definitely feel it. So it looks like, again, this game we are beginning to see the reminiscent of a similar strategy from Painkillers. They're moving their radar cruisers in towards the Centaur Islands and using those beaches to kind of creep around and hide their citadel to maybe catch a destroyer with their radar. But the two battleships from Painkillers are now going hard right and hard left for the crossfires, while, Payne's Armada are focusing a lot more on what I assume is going to be a BA cap play. They have the cruiser over on D to try and delay the D cap so they can accumulate a point lead. It's going to be really interesting, especially when we see those two destroyers in the middle meet.
I think if we switch over and catch up to the live bit, we are gonna see the DDs contesting the cap. I think Meep he's going to be in big trouble here. He's
been caught off again, unfortunately.
I'm assuming that's the Low Yang that's peppering him out of the smoke screen.
It was unfortunately a sonar contest against the Low Yang, which ultimately is only ever going to go one way.
Yeah.
Which is very unfortunate. And again, this early in the game, it was very unfortunate here because this destroyer was caught in a Low Yang sonar on the part of A, which is not far enough ahead where the whole enemy team can shoot him, but just far enough back where all the islands are actually preventing any kind of allied fire because they're obstructing those firing lines.
That cruiser got some licks in, and as you can see, he's walking away pretty much unscathed. So
the Low Yang definitely has a big health pool left. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it wasn't even any kind of trade on then.
And right now we're now seeing the allied Loyang go down as well. So they've also lost their Loyang. So now we're already seeing a huge advantage here towards the red team because they retain their Loyang, which still has a predominant health advantage.
Or is the Akatsuki going to go down as well? He is. He's going to take both of them.
Oh, okay. So in the first few minutes, that's it. They've lost.
Oh, this is brutal.
Predominantly their capture and spotting potential. Yeah. So now we have these two radar cruisers who are going to have to very tactically position near these battleships to utilize their radars and hope we can stop the destroyers kind of catching the licks on the side of those battleships. But it's looking very unlikely. Which team are we inspecting right now? Because you're in spectator cam. I'm having a hard time.
He's.
What tag is blue team right now?
Right. Okay. So
yeah.
Pain Killers.
No, this is Payne's Armada, so
Payne's
actually we're going to
Armada.
be 1-1 right now.
Yeah, Payne's Armada is running
so this
away
is
with this.
Absolutely as I suspected. So Payne's Armada took their loss in the first game due to that destroyer engagement at the beginning. In this game, they've gone, you know what? Okay, we're not going to play around anymore. We're going to take a very gunboat heavy kind of area domination loadout of destroyers, and they've gone in. They've just hammered those enemy DDs as priority. They learned their mistake last game. They're not messing around this time. They're going, right, let's get these DDs out and then really
I think
kind
the
of...
Wichita is about to go down. We caught a glimpse of him just then with very little health left. This is... I would love to be in the room afterwards when they're having their team chat, because they're all in the same team, and there is going to be some choice words thrown around, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, we've seen the same cause of a lost 2 games in a row, but the roles have been reversed.
Yeah,
we had the early destroyer game in game 1 where that threw the spotting right off the gate, but this time it's been the complete opposite. Payne's Armada have gone, okay, we lost the last game. We recognize why we lost, and it was due to the destroyer engagements. Let's absolutely clam out these destroyers this time, and that's exactly what they've done. They've gone in with a very clear objective. They've coordinated their fire to isolate the enemy destroyers out, and they've just, immediately sent them back to port, which is... This game was over. I hate to say it, but this game was won in the first few minutes.
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Although this Riga... Chip could 100% flip this on its head.
Unfortunately not.
Unfortunately.
Game 2 was definitely a Payne's Armada game, for sure. Good job, guys. I mean, we're seeing 2 relatively well-versed teams here. Game 1, we had Payne Killers were playing hyper-aggressive. Almost the similar kind of playstyle you see from a lot of the Russian teams we've seen in the EFN over the past few months. And this game, we've seen Payne's Armada, after taking that loss, they didn't take it sitting down. They weren't demotivated. In fact, I feel like that loss just brought them together and really kind of motivated them almost, because we just saw that, it completely switch on its head.
Are we going to see another flip again, though?
I feel like the fact that these are 2 sister teams is motivating them even harder to get these wins in right now.
Isaac has got it for Paynes to win. Yeah, that Mr. Flint, you're right. That was a devastating first 5 minutes. That would.
It seems the viewers were also having a hard time with Payne and Payne. Yeah, this is the same issue we're having. So I believe, quote me if I'm wrong. I believe game 1 went to Payne Killers.
Yes.
And then game 2 went to Payne's Armadas. So we're currently 1-1, I believe.
I believe so. We could be completely perfectly wrong, but yes, we are. What I can say with some form of clarity is it is currently 1-1.
Yeah, you have brought me on one of the games of all time to commentate. This is the first ever competitive game I've ever commentated in my life.
I think this is why Mr. Monk was all of a sudden really busy and couldn't do it. He was just like, Pain, what? No. So yeah, this is. I'm just going to call them Team 1 and 2. All right, we're still going through a bit of a ship change process, ladies and gentlemen. So,
which is completely understandable. Both teams have a lot on the line here. and they've kind of shown each other what their motive really is. Like we know, like painkillers are going for the center islands almost indefinitely. Payne's Armada are playing this hyper-aggressive destroyer play, which is going to put a lot of pressure on those radar cruisers. And the battleships really can't, because these radar cruisers they're bringing in don't pull punches. We all know they're pulling in some of the strongest cruisers on the ball right now. We're seeing Wichita CEs, we're seeing riggers. These battleships are really having to play it careful to not get caught on a, by one of these cruisers lobbing HE or taking free damage at the start of the game while they can't retaliate with return fire. So the battleships are really playing it carefully.
Hannah, give us a quick pause here because, not quite. We're still waiting for one more ship. Come on, Tiger. Right, so I'm assuming he's got to be picking the right. We don't have a Lo Yang.
Okay. They've swapped out a Lo Yang for an oyster. That's a choice. Like that means they've. Let's just digest this moment. So they're bringing out the Lenin, which is this fits what I just said. Their battleships are playing very supportive. They're playing back row. They're trying to avoid getting caught by an endless stream of cruiser fire. So he's running probably one of the most accurate long-range battleships on the ball right now, which is Lenin.
And that's paired up with the Georgia as well.
Yeah, which has the overmatch. So they're definitely picking what I would consider to be back row supportive battleships. And then for your cruisers, you have your Wichita and your Balti. Wichita, as we all know, it's a Wichita CE. It's very strong. Both teams have one.
It's broken.
Lo Yang for the oyster. This is such a I wonder how this is going to work out for them, because oyster is death by 1,000 cuts. It's fast damage, like fast speed, low damage torpedoes with a destroyer that has good AA and is quite nippy. But how is it going to come against the Fantastique? And God forbid the Lo Yang. The Fletcher maybe.
I think they might be trying to avoid the DD fight after how well it went last time.
Because to me, Ostergotland is potent, but it would be more effective in kind of scaring these cruisers and battleships. Anyway, so we're going to the game. We're already, 30 seconds in. We're starting to see some very early movement.
We are on Two Brothers, just in case anyone did not recognise this map. And I'm incredibly disappointed that I'm not seeing a team go up the middle. Let's flip to what's going on with his stream. Oh, there we go. Neither team is going for a mid push, so I'm incredibly disappointed.
Honestly, understandable. We can all agree that mid pushes, they either work or they don't, and they're hyper inconsistent. And in this kind of environment, you want to try and secure the result. We're on the third and defining game.
We could Armada and Killer but it's remembering which one's which. So Payne is Armada.
Yeah. No, yes, Payne. So we're currently looking at Payne's Armada right now, who we have already their destroyers pushing into A and getting the other cap, but it's contested, which is interesting. No, obviously we have no center island pushes right now, which
is a shame, but smart.
It's a shame, but it means that both B and C are relatively safe right now. So it's going to come down to whether or not either team can kind of secure A or C. We have that very early game destroyer fight going on again, as we expected.
That Fantask is very, very aggressive there on D.
Well, he has the speed to do it. This is the thing, especially if he comes up against Josta Gotland. It's going to be a right. So which two DDs do we have fighting in A right now?
In A, right. Let's see if we
it's hard to see. Yeah.
So the Z23, the live catch-up button, because YouTube is awful for this. If you're streaming,
the Z23 is coming out with the Lo Yang kill. If we can get that on with throw, it's going to be huge, because that takes the sonar down. Oh, he went dark. Did you get it?
He got it. He's gone.
If he drops his smoke and pulls out now and avoids that Fletcher, that's coming off great for them.
He's been hit by one of the radars. Is he going to be able to dodge?
Can he get out of this is the question, because those torpedoes are limiting his movement, and that Fletcher's going to town right now. Is he going to take a torp? He's trying his hardest not to, but he has his engine down. Oh, he come out of that. As soon as that radar drops, he's going to pop his smoke and he's dipping. That'll be huge. They have to kill him. They have to take down this Z23 now, before that radar goes.
I think the Wichita changed fire then, and the last salvo I seen from the Wichita didn't look like.
Yeah, and there goes the smoke. If he can get out, that's an amazing trade.
He's trying really hard to hit.
Yeah, I think he's made it. Well. I think he's got out. Is the Wichita going to take him?
Oh, that was one of the battleships. Is that the Monarch? out there. It was the Monarch that actually caught him.
with the HE, yeah. And I mean, that witch to radar, where they're definitely earning their place right now. We're seeing exactly why these witch to seas are getting brought into this fight today. That was huge.
The Wichita
the
Sea
Loyang
and
for
the
Z23.
Celtic are two that I see quite a lot. They are so nasty.
So I mean, those are two very heavy sonar destroyers that are taken out early game. Yeah, immediately followed by the friendly roamer there. So I mean, the enemy now has what? They have the Östergötland and they have the.
The Östergötland's still alive, and oh crap!
Yeah, it's hard to keep track right now because we can't.
We can go back. Hang on, there we go. Where is it? Just before there, the Östergötland. They've got the Östergötland.
Yeah.
And the Fletcher still, and they've got Fantastic and Fletcher.
I would definitely I think the Fantastic over the Oster, although Oster is very strong.
Right, let's have a look at what's going on.
The Lenin is now starting to kind of is getting tucked in. He's got his limited damage control parties. He's kind of juggling very carefully, and you can see he's definitely keeping an eye for that cruiser because he wants to try and catch that cruiser as they trade. That enemy cruiser is going to have to rotate sooner or later, or die to what I assume is going to be the Baltimore. I can't see the name, but judging by how it's playing. Yeah, this Lenin is desperately trying to avoid taking a torpedo here. He's going to push to the island and use the left-hand side of the island to kind of put a rock between him and these torpedoes.
Yeah, I think he's got the range away from... Unfortunately, the Fletcher's good gunboat its torpedoes are a little bit lackluster.
Yeah, there goes
he's not even needed for the...
Followed immediately by the Riga. Okay, we're seeing a lot of movement late game right here. So hang on, let's decompress real quick. We have painkillers with A and B double cap. Yeah, A and C double cap. Sorry, which is gonna slowly start pulling the points back. Although they are losing a lot of ships, they have objective advantage, but they're getting sunk so quickly. It's pulling those points right back out. And then for Payne's Armada, we have the Lenin who's trying to avoid the Fletcher torps, but he's paired with the Wichita, or the Balti, sorry. Yeah. He's paired with the Baltimore, whose radar is being very kind as to push the Fletcher back and remind the Fletcher, hey, this isn't your side of the map anymore. And the Fletcher is very quickly learning this and withdrawing. But this might be another win to Payne's Armada.
I don't know, that Fletcher is doing exactly the right thing.
He's withdrawing, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
to be honest, though,
he's going to catch. Is he going to get the Baltimore? That looks like one, maybe maybe two. Oh. Oof. That was
okay. So he's made the Baltimore kind of realize that it's not quite as comfortable as he thought he was. However, honestly, my opinion is this Fletcher is now just in general out of position. Like if Red Team was to win, this Fletcher would be doing so much more in the middle of the map, either by the center push, the Two Islands River, or on A.
Why is the Fletcher shooting? Why?
Because he ultimately, unfortunately, his side has collapsed, and he's so far out of the fight now where he can't really go to the other side of the map to support the rest of his team, and he's coming up against a radar Balti and a hyper accurate Lenin, which still has all three of his DCPs.
But there's still 8 minutes left of the match. I would have kept myself alive.
8 minutes with a point loss. Unfortunately, I think this game is now kind of very quickly shifting towards.
If he pushed north and came back into D and contested that, could have potentially held out on the point side of things.
We saw a lot of very aggressive gameplay from both teams right at the start of this match, and these destroyers were changing positions very quickly.
Honestly, we're going to witness a ram here.
Yeah.
There we go.
That just rules the Fletcher. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it was a great effort by both teams. I don't think either team played incorrectly here.
Normally,
almost all three of the games were just determined very early on by these destroyer engagements.
And to be honest with you, this has been really interesting because the rest of the games we've covered, in all fairness, there generally tends not to be much movement. It's usually a stalemate. Someone makes a mistake, then the other team
And
will,
you see
will
movement.
push.
Yeah.
But both Pains, both Armada and Killer, they've been non-stop, and it's definitely given us some interesting viewing. Is this?
Well, I
fetch,
imagine that they know who they're playing against. They know their favorite ships and their interests, and given these are two sister fleets, it's almost like it's a personal battle between these two. There's a lot to prove.
It's like a local derby almost in the
Yeah.
football. That was
So
some
they're
pretty
both
good
going in there
blind
with-
fire there from the
with the
Baltimore.
intention
It
of-
wasn't too
I mean,
far off.
I think both teams played really, really well. I'm very surprised with the Killers' push on game one and how it succeeded for them. But I think, unfortunately, they tried to play the same strategy that did so well for them in game one in both games 2 and 3. And Payne's Armada were just expecting it. They just knew that they would try this. It worked for them once. Let's not let it work for them again.
Yeah,
And
they just took their legs out.
But
basically.
let's not. I know a lot of our discussion has been destroyer heavy, but let's not forget some of the roles these cruisers have been playing. They've been positioning very well throughout all 3 games, where they're protected by the battleships, but they have a lot of radar coverage, and they're in positions where they can very flexibly move to support whatever's needed. And they've supported their battleship pushes to get them in the middle of these caps where they can really help. I think these were 3 really interesting games.
They were, and you can just see the importance of the radar cruisers and their positioning and how much of a role they play in these matches.
The Wichita for sure is absolutely like one of the picks.
That's probably my favourite part about this whole competitive side, is everyone's like, 90% of players it's DD or it's battleship, but you get to see what cruisers and what a cruiser played really well is capable of. And
I mean, just the evidence of how well the cruisers are in terms of importance is the fact we're seeing these Soviet cruisers coming in to begin with, like P-Bag, Rigger, these cruisers that are able to deal damage, like devastating damage, in fact, to battleships. The AP can pen broadside battleships in the right circumstance, while having these long-range, relatively good duration radars. Like,
I remember getting multiple citadels on a Vladivostok in a Riga, and I was like, oh my god.
yeah, and not just that, but the shells travel so quickly. I mean, they're railguns, so you can also hit the destroyers. If a destroyer is running away at 10, 11 kilometers and you want to try and Hail Mary them, you have the shell velocity to do so. So, I mean, just the fact we're seeing these Soviet cruisers coming in shows that they're taking this very seriously, and they really do mean for these cruisers to go in and show what's business. I mean, you have the Wichitas playing supportive, HE and radar, the Riggers and the P-Bags going in and just hammering damage when possible. I mean, it was. Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised by how interesting these games were.
I think I'd rather have a Riga than a Baltimore if I'm trying to kill a DD, just because of the difference that shell velocity makes, especially when you're firing on a fast target.
Maybe, but the Baltimores are, I would argue, generally better in taking other cruisers because they're heavy AP.
Yeah.
If they're utilizing the islands to protect that massive free real estate of that fat hull on the side that Baltimore has, if they're using these islands to kind of hide their free real estate for the enemy AP, and they can definitely be used well.
Oh man!
But
I'm looking forward to the next match now, because I'm wondering how sort of Payne's the very aggressive play style, like you said, the Russians are the same in general with their play style. How that's going to handle like the Wolf Pack or UFO or Salty, like a team that's generally
it almost
a bit
felt
more
personal
reserved.
between these two teams.
Yeah. It did. I hope they come out with that same flair as they did, because they weren't planning on taking any prisoners. Neither team wanted to make it easy for
anyway, I mean,
each other.
in that third, you could tell in that third game they were getting serious. The moment I saw that Lenin come out, I'm like, oh, they're going for that third win and they want it bad. To bring out the Lenin this late in the event, like they kept that Lenin hidden up until that third game, and then they pull it out, and it's like, this is our trump card. Like, if you try and run, you are going to get the full blunt force of my frontal facing AP.
And
yeah,
it's such a hard ship to deal with. Like honestly, that the only real counter battleship-wise, I think, is the Monarch. But the Monarch is such a fickle ship. It's not really a ship you see many teams.
You have the
picking.
monumental HE and a relatively good heal, but if you take damage, you take a lot of damage.
Yeah.
That's the thing with it. Yeah.
So like,
I mean,
yeah, when you see a Lenin out there, you're just like, oh yeah. As long as they don't allow themselves to get burnt down by a cruiser, they're gonna cause nothing but pain for the enemy.
that was my concern. My
Pun
concern was
intended.
the Rewitcher to CEs on the field, and you're gonna pull out a Lenin. It was definitely a brave choice because they could have absolutely just ran with the fact that he only has 3 damage control parties. 4 if I think if you're running a certain commander build for it, but they could have definitely fielded this advantage.
No.
All in all, I think the team composition played a very big part of these battles, and this is why we're seeing so many of the same ships coming in. Loyang definitely is paying its worth in these games. Same with the Wichiters. The Lenin at the end was a bold choice, but it worked out very well for them. The Ostergotland, I'm not sure about.
I thought the Ostergotland was a bit of a bad
Fantastic
pick.
was a good pick because it's so fast you can chase and you can engage if they're trying to run in their weak. Oyster was a bold move.
And the Akatsuki, see, I still think that was like I understand the power and potency of the Akatsuki. I freaking love the Akatsuki, but if you're going to get caught out by a radar, you want something that you want to be able to get away in.
I mean, the Akatsuki is fast. It has good concealment. It's coming up against like a sonar meta. You've got these really potent sonars, the Z23, the Loyang. And these are all like. The Loyang, without even going any further, it's one of the meta destroyers in the TF because of its sonar. You get caught, and it's like a spider. It lays its web, you get caught in it, you're going to have a really hard time crawling out of it. And if you do get out of it, it's going to cost you 3/4 of your health, and then you're playing conservative for the rest of the battle. All in all, 3 good games. Both teams played really, really well. You could definitely see the motivation behind both teams and just how sheer aggressive they were in the first few minutes.
It's normally
like, the battleships were playing conservatively, but both teams were definitely going in there with the intention of sinking some people.
Yeah, well, I'd say that the battleships were playing conservatively, but they were there. They were holding the angles and just not allowing the cruisers to really.
You're absolutely right. On that first game, I was stressing the importance of those 2 battleships holding their angles on sea. Like their team was.
Basically, they played the bouncers in your local pub, didn't they? You get some big strapping dudes with tattoos standing at the door, 6'8", and you're not going to go in there and fuck around.
you had your DDs go in there, and they were having their bar fight, figuring out between the 2 of them which one wants the cap. And then the moment that fight was won, whichever side won that fight, the two battleships were there to go, right, okay, both of our teams have a battleship here, so neither of us can move forward. We're checkmating each other. My DD beat your DD. This is our cap now.
Yeah.
And
get out, run away, or die.
Yeah. Basically, that was a case of right. Do you want to reverse around the island, or should I push you back? But all in all, I don't think. I mean, obviously, Payne's Armada definitely came out above there with the game 2 and 3 victory. But I absolutely don't want to sleep on just how well that Painkillers played. That first game,
normally this
coming
is
in
about the point where me and Monk will argue over who was the man of the match. But honestly, I don't think I could call it because both teams played so well, and there was no obvious standouts. Not to say that no one was good. They were all good, and they all seemed to play their parts so well.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell they had their strategy in mind when they were picking what ships they want to play. And it almost seems like they knew where they wanted to put their ships before they went into the game. And they would put their ships in these very kind of, like, strategically important positions. And even though the battleships weren't moving a whole lot, for example, they were in such important positions with such a key firing line that just that alone limited how the cruisers could move on that flank. So, and they were definitely trying to cone and funnel their enemy into the objective they didn't want. The if we want B and C, we're going to have a
fight.
we're going to have a battleship on the C flank that has a firing line everywhere except A. So it forces them to kind of funnel towards A while we secure B and C. And both teams were trying this, which is a lot. This is predominantly why it came down so much to the destroyers, because both teams appeared to have very similar strategies, and it really did come down to who had the spotting and who had these destroyers to sneak into the cap, because, I mean, as we saw, it very much relied on DD capping throughout all 3 games. Except for game 3, a DD cap tried, and the Wichita radar made it very difficult. But yeah, I think those were great games.
They were. There is a second match on today, but to be honest with you, I don't think I'm going to cover it. It doesn't start for an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm getting old. I need bed.
It will be a bit late for you in Greenland, won't it?
I believe, if I have a look, it is being streamed. I'll copy the text. Can I pop it into the stream chat? Give me a second and I'll pop it into the stream chat. So if anyone wants to watch the next match, which is to be honest with you, there's so many teams I don't know their bloody names. HULC and IHW, I believe. Is it? No, I'm wrong. SNN, which is Shock and Awe, versus HULC. God damn it! Why can't they just write their full names? But they will be going at it in a little over an hour. So let me just post the link for that in my live chat. So for anyone who hasn't had enough competition battles, what? Oh right, it's copied the entire. Oh, this is annoying. Right, copy link. Oh god, I am technically inept.
It comes with the age, Hive.
What are you? I was going to say, are you trying to call me old? But I'm pretty sure you're about half my age. So yes, it does come with age. But thank you very much.
No problem.
To Mr. Boss for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. Maybe
it was very last minute. I got 5 minutes notice that this was happening.
It's not a lie. He literally got 5 minutes notice that it was happening. I was like, Monks ditched me and left me in the lurch. Do you want to stream a comp game? When? Now.
I was eating dinner with my partner watching Jurassic World. You caught us mid meal, but I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone who joined.
Well, whilst we're here, I might as well spoil Jurassic World for you. They all die.
Damn. Well, there goes that movie night. Cheers.
It's not. I have seen. It's a good film. It's a good watch. Enjoy it, and tell Mrs. Boss she can go back to eating her dairy milk now.
Will do. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure.
Have a great day.
You too. Catch you soon. And yeah, so that's it from me as well, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for stopping by. Sorry we ignored you, chat, but that was just manic and extremely interesting. So we will be back. I believe we'll be back tomorrow around the same time. Whereas we've got my former team, UFO, taking on my current team, Salty. So I'm going to do my best to remain impartial. In all fairness, I love both teams. They're both great bunch of guys. So yeah, we're going to have that tomorrow, and that should be interesting because we've got Salty, who came second in Ocean Cup 2, and I believe UFO won Ocean Cup 1. So yeah, it should be a pretty compelling match. So I'm quite looking forward to that. But on that note, I'm gonna bid you all adieu, and until next time, take care.